In today's video, I want to discuss why hardworking people stay broke even though they're doing everything right. I think one of the most expensive mistakes people make in their entire career happens before they even apply for their first job. And the strange part is, almost nobody realizes they're making it. They think they're just making decisions about jobs. They're actually making decisions about markets. And those are not the same thing. Imagine two people, they graduate around the same time, they both get jobs. They're both intelligent, they're both disciplined, they're both willing to stay late and work long hours, and willing to sacrifice. If you met them 5 years later, you probably couldn't tell much of a difference. But meet them again 15 years later, something strange happened. One earns around $60,000 a year and the other earns well over $200,000. And here's the question, when did that happen? Was it because one of them suddenly became smarter, worked harder, or even got luckier? Or did something much bigger happen without either of them realizing it? Because I don't think most people understand the game they're actually playing. And until you understand that game, you'll probably keep optimizing the wrong thing. The lie is, from the time we're children, we're taught one simple equation: work hard, be responsible, stay consistent, and eventually life will reward you. It's beautiful advice, but it's also incomplete. Because if you work hard alone and that determined income, every nurse would be extremely wealthy. Every teacher would be wealthy. Every construction worker, paramedic, warehouse supervisor, customer service manager, and every single parent working 2 jobs, not 1. The world doesn't look like that, which means something else has happened, and almost nobody explains what it is. The first realization. Here's something I wish someone had told me years ago. Your paycheck is not a scorecard for effort. It's the market's opinion of how valuable your skill sets are today. That one sentence completely changed the way I think about careers, because it explains something that otherwise feels very deeply unfair. How 2 people can both work incredibly hard and end up living completely different financial lives. Not because one deserves it more, because they're playing in different markets. And that's a distinction almost nobody makes. The game you didn't know you were playing. Let's imagine 2 ladders. One is leaning against a small building, the other is leaning against a skyscraper. Now here's the interesting part. The person climbing the small ladder might actually climb faster, work harder, and never miss a day. But no matter how hard they climb, the ladder itself has limits. The other person might climb more slowly, but because of where the ladder is positioned, every step creates dramatically more opportunity. That's your career. Most people obsess over climbing faster. Very few stop to ask whether they're climbing the right ladder. And this is why raises feel so disappointing. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're earning $60,000 a year. You've been dependable. You solve problems. People respect you. Performance reviews come around every year. You get a 4% raise. Let's clap it up. Congratulations. You now earn $62,400 objectively. That's more money. Emotionally, your life barely changes. Your rent doesn't suddenly become affordable. Your investments don't suddenly explode. And you don't suddenly feel financially free, because raises were never designed to transform your life. They were designed to retain employees. That's a completely different purpose. And if you expect raises to create your wealth, you're asking them to do something they were never meant to do. Let's understand how markets work. So what actually determines income? And let's talk about something almost no one discusses outside of economics: markets. Every career exists inside of a certain market. Teaching, healthcare, construction, accounting, software, enterprise technology, they're all markets. And every market quietly asks the same question: how many people can do this? Demand. Compared to how many people need it done. That's it. That's the game we're playing. If millions of people can do something and demand barely grows, employers have leverage. If relatively few people can solve an expensive enterprise problem and demand keeps increasing, you have the leverage. Notice what didn't change: your work ethic. Only the market changed. Why scarcity is so misunderstood. And here's where people make insane mistakes. They think means difficult. Not necessarily. Scarce usually means ignored. Think about it. Millions of people know Microsoft Excel. That's valuable, but it's not scarce. Now think about someone who understands how a global bank automates approvals between departments, or how hospitals manage internal workflows. Most people had never even thought about those problems. That's where the scarcity begins. Not because it's impossible to learn, because almost nobody pays attention to it. That's one of the biggest lessons I've personally learned: the compound effect. Let's talk about something even more expensive than salary: career trajectory. Imagine two people earning exactly the same income today. One stays in a market that's barely growing. The other enters a market that's expanding rapidly. 5 years later, the second person isn't just earning more, they're solving bigger problems, leading larger projects, and meeting different people, getting recruited instead of applying, and learning skills that become more valuable every year. That's the compound effect. Not just money, opportunity. The first person isn't standing still, they're growing as well. But the market they're in isn't multiplying that growth, it's absorbing it quietly year after year. And this is why some careers look boring. This is something I've definitely noticed. Some of the best careers in the world are almost invisible. Nobody dreams about them as a kid. Nobody posts aesthetic TikToks about them. They're very quiet, specialized, and almost boring. And that's exactly why they become insanely valuable. Because attention flows one direction, money flows the other. And when everyone competes for the same opportunity, those overlooked opportunities quietly become more valuable. So what should you do? This doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow or today. It doesn't mean chasing every new trend. It means asking better questions. Instead of asking, how can I make more money? Ask, what market rewards the kind of problems I want to solve? Instead of asking, what's the highest paying job? Ask, where is demand growing faster than supply? And instead of asking, what should I learn? Ask, what are companies struggling to find? Those questions change everything. One day, you're gonna wake up and you'll have spent 20 years trying to build a career. And the question isn't whether you've worked hard, because we know you can work hard. I'm almost certain you will. The question is something much quieter. Did those 20 years actually compound, or did they simply accumulate? Because those are not the same thing. One creates options, the other creates regret. And the beautiful thing is, you don't have to have all the answers today. You just have to be willing to answer a better question. One most people aren't asking: how do I work harder? But where does hard work actually get rewarded? That single question has the power to change the next decade of your life. If this changed the way you think about your career, then the next question is probably, okay, what market should I actually be looking at? That's exactly why we put together the Catalyst Institute Tech Transition Roadmap. It's a free guide that walks through the framework we use to help people identify high opportunity tech careers, understand what market and demand are growing, and build a realistic transition plan. You can download that today using the first link in the description below. Thank you so much. Like, comment, and subscribe.